Oh, hey, Shane watched Twitter, so Shane just voted. Good to know.
Awesome. Congratulations, I voted. Maybe you can update it when you pay your taxes, too.
Yeah! Ya voté, motherfuckers!
We voted.
Congratulations.
Check that shit out.
Got a sticker?
We saw it.
Yeah. Saw it on your Twitter 20 minutes ago.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. See, I got it from the whole
Voted a week ago. Absentee.
Nice.
Great, because you wanted to be there. You wanted to involve yourself in the spectacle and the magic of voting on Hope Day.
Yeah, I wanted to not leave my house.
Okay.
It's ideal.
Boring. Let's go see who else voted in the last 30 seconds.
Good idea.
Holy fuck.
What's up? Holy fuck.
Someone got Gears 2 at 7-Eleven.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Street
Right
Day?
now?
Yeah.
Whoa. Yeah, let's go. Fuck this.
Whoa. Guys, wait. Shit.
「仕事へ行きたくない」「学校なんかつまんない」「みんなで一緒にテレビゲーム遊びたい」「遊びたい」「どこでも行っても同じだ」「みんなで歌を歌うんだ」「みんなで一緒にテレビゲーム遊んだらどうだら」「ワンアップショーを見ましょう」One up show de aso. One up show. Wow. すごい。One up show やったよ。これはワンアップショーです。
So I guess it's just me and you talking about MotorStorm Pacific Rift. Did you play MotorStorm 1?
No, that's the thing, is I'm the newcomer to this, like you're the grizzled MotorStorm veteran. I usually don't play racing games that aren't Burnout, at least for the last 5 or 6 years. Because in the first MotorStorm, like as I understand it, was really bare bones. Like, is this satisfying now?
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the first MotorStorm, but it felt a little unfinished. I mean, when it shipped, it had no online play. It had they added more tracks later, more vehicles later.
So the 2005 V3 trailer, when it actually went live, I was sat in the convention centre in Los Angeles, and we basically put this movie together about what we think the PlayStation 3 could do. But we actually announced the hardware specifications on a slideshow presentation. We sat and jotted them down, and then they showed us our movie. So it was like, this is what the PlayStation 3 can do, and this is what you're going to get on it. And we're sat there going, trying to do the math in our head, going, can we really do this stuff that we're doing now?
It kind of pissed us off a lot. And in hindsight, we can say that now. Nobody denied it. You know, nobody said it wasn't in game. Here's a visualization of what we want to do. You know, it's basically not like, and I don't think anybody explicitly said that, but no, I don't think anybody explicitly said. I think the only interesting thing was because it was done by a company up the road called Real Time. So in theory, it was real time, if you could say that. But it was a hard birth, though, wasn't it? We never had MotorStorm. While we were doing WRC, we never had MotorStorm waiting in the wings.
We showed MotorStorm to the board of Sony in November 2005. So basically the famous infamous E3 movie had been out. So there's all these expectations about the rendering prowess that we were going to expose.
And we showed them a load of boxes.
And at the end of the show, Phil Harrison took us to one side and went, "You guys are the worst in the world." At which point we went, "Right, we'll show you." And going from worst in the world to the best-selling PlayStation 3 game in the world is magic.
MotorStorm Pacific Rift is very much in the same vein as Burnout in that it's about risk reward of boosting, crashing into things. It's very aggressive. It's not like Gran Turismo or Forza or something. This has everything you want, more variety. I kind of wish they'd gone a little further with the game design and like new ideas, right. But it's just a polished, refined version of MotorStorm. It's super fun, very arcadey. accessible for everybody. It's not just for gearheads.
For me, like, MotorStorm isn't fun moment to moment, but it is satisfying because it's all about, I mean, it's got a steep learning curve. It's like you have to learn the tracks. You have to like learn the tracks more specifically with the vehicle you want to race them on. And then later when the game mixes it up and it's like, hey, now you got to use this vehicle on this track. So it's like, it's kind of like it's satisfying because of the learning curve and because of like the rubber band AI, whereas like Burnout just straight up fun. So that's the big difference for me, even though they are still like at, you know, face value like arcade racing games.
One new vehicle in this game, the monster truck, it's so slow and so big. Like, I never want to play as that thing.
And I also like, I mean, I guess it's kind of fun, but like having to run from it all the time, whenever like you see it coming up on you, especially when you're a bike or something, and it can just like wipe you out.
That's true. They really increased like the lethality of the big vehicles, and if you're a small vehicle, you're gonna get destroyed.
I mean, I understand that the game forces you to use certain vehicle types in certain races so that you like, you know, to kind of say you have to try learning this track this way, but I don't know, like if I'd like that when I would spend a while learning one track one way and then suddenly have to like look at it a whole different way. I appreciate the option, but I didn't like being forced into it.
Right. I do wish they would have added more new event types. It's still pretty limited. You know, it's like regular race. Maybe there's like a limit, like you only have 4 crashes. That happens only once in a while.
And I mean, like, elimination is pretty much the same. It's like, hey, race as best you can and as fast as you can.
In elimination, someone gets deleted every like 30 seconds, so you're constantly having to move forward. You have to be first place in that.
But I mean, you're trying to be first. I'm just saying, like, that's not that different from the main race. And then the other one, which is kind of racing through checkpoints, like...
It's really unforgiving. I mean, to get a gold on that, you really can't mess up once. So, I mean, I kind of wish, like Burnout, they had some more variety of the races, but the regular races and the tracks themselves are so varied. There's so many of them and they look so good. I mean, like the idea of doing these elemental tracks, air, water, fire, earth, is a really good idea, because the first game everything looked the same. It was all like Death Valley Brown. By now, you know, there's volcano levels with like rolling magma, and there's waterfalls, there's, you know, cliffs on the air levels. It's a lot of variety. And so yeah, I think if you're somebody who likes Burnout, likes Mario Kart, you'll like MotorStorm.
Well, I guess what I would ask first is whether or not you used guns when you were playing the game, because I didn't. It also, I think, made it more frustrating than it would have been if I had not made that decision.
You know, I played that way too, just because I felt like, guns kind of feels like it's cheating to me. Like, I really want to like experience like what she's able to do, like how agile she is. And even knowing that the hand-to-hand combat for me at first was really sort of spotty, like I still went into it saying, I don't want to use guns. And, you know, for the first part of the game, like I kept trying to do disarms most of the time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like the hand-to-hand combat stuff started to click. And that just made dealing with enemies and stuff so much more fun.
Yeah. So tell me how you got the hand-to-hand combat to work well, because like I got really, really good at the disarms, because I couldn't get any kind of combos down or anything like that really felt like I was being impactful hand-to-hand.
Eventually what I discovered, you know, kind of just the basic jump kick and then punch combo, which works like really well, because the jump kick kind of stuns them a little bit, then you can run in and just hit them a few times. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't using it for every single enemy, but near the end of the game, especially in like the server room area where there's just so many guys coming at you from so many different directions, I found it to be really useful for taking out guys really quickly and without worrying about the timing of a disarm.
I guess what I really wanted was the ability to go from a jump kick or a slide kick into a disarm.
Absolutely.
Which is something that you can't do, and it just seems silly to me, because like when you do the slide kick or the jump kick, they usually like will kind of buckle over, and then when they're buckled over, you're standing right in front of you, right? And you're thinking like, okay, if I'm Faith at this point, I'm grabbing the gun, taking it away from him, and you can't do it.
And it was really disappointing to me when that kind of stuff happened, because it seemed to me so natural to, if you can stun a guy for a little while, if she's so good at disarming people, then especially when they're stunned, she should be able to disarm them. And why am I standing here waiting for this guy's animation to finish so that he can attack me first so that then I can disarm him? I think it's a fair critique to say that that's a flaw in the hand-to-hand combat, because the rest of the game, the running and the jumping and all the parkour stuff is flawlessly fluid. like I found myself doing some amazing shit on the first try. You know, like you do fall all the time in this game, but like I actually found myself many more times just doing extraordinary things just because like it occurred to me on the fly.
You know, there's those few areas where they really lock you in a room and say, all right, Faith, you're not leaving until you just, you know, take all these guys down. If I gave up this idea of, you know, Faith doesn't kill people and she doesn't, you know, Faith now uses guns, then at that point I could have cleared those areas like that.
So one question I have to ask you guys, something that they mentioned in our meeting with them a while back, was that if they did a sequel, they would actually consider taking out guns entirely. Is that something?
I would be down for it.
I would take out the FPS stuff and just give me a lot more hand-to-hand disarm moves. I hate to bring up Assassin's Creed again.
Hey, it's another parkour game. This time it actually works.
Right, exactly. But Assassin's Creed, they had this whole concept of little input, big output, you know? Like you can execute some really big moves just with some really well-timed button presses and the stick in the right way. Totally. And I think if you do that in Mirror's Edge, it would be really effective.
Yeah. It's funny, most of the time I died was because I wasn't like separating like the police from each other. Like I would always have the temptation to just run in full speed because she is so agile and you want to be like, oh, I'm a badass, I can flip over this thing and go over here and they won't even get me. But they do get you because the AI can be a little cheap at times.
So there's one part in the mall in particular where you have to make a couple swings onto this area, this like kind of rafter. Once she gets on a pole and she's swinging, if you're not directly lined up with the thing that you need to jump to, it takes forever to like make her sidle over on the pole, and that entire time I would get just destroyed by anyone that was shooting me below. I knew I didn't have to fight there. I knew I didn't have to fight. That's why I tried it like 19 times. Right. Even though I feel like Faith should be able to escape without combat during that sequence, I ended up having to like give in, go down and take out all the guys. You know, I tried to make those. It's not like I was missing the jumps. Like I was swinging on the pole and like sure enough would get shot this time. I have times where I make it to the other side and get shot through the floor.
Well, I think what makes this game enjoyable too is that this was like an enormous risk gameplay-wise. Like,
yeah, totally.
Involving this much platforming and action, just agility from a first-person perspective is just a huge risk. And I think they nailed it pretty well on their first try.
Definitely.
Yeah. And you know, and this game is definitely at its best for me when a chase is involved, when she's always moving. You know, I remember telling Nick, you know, during the preview build, that I wouldn't have liked it if they put in other enemies who were just as agile as Faith. Ones that could run around and chase after her and flip and do all the crazy things that she does. But that actually turned out some of those parts of the game that involved those enemies were actually my favorite parts because it did involve a chase.
I think it makes you think in new ways about the environment, not just about like getting from point A to point B, but like trying to do extra tricky stuff to maybe slow them down a little bit.
Exactly.
And you started looking at, and like that actually taught me that I could do a few different maneuvers that I didn't know I could do. For me, it was about 5.5 hours. And granted, I'd played the preview before, so the first three chapters or whatever were really fast for me.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that like if you don't get stuck on the combat a lot and that kind of thing, then 6 hours I think is about what most people are going to hit. I was thinking, man, that's really short. But then I realized that you were moving through these levels really, really fast.
Yep.
And there was a lot of level there.
Yep.
Like if you were to think about, if you were to go through it at a walking pace or a normal FPS pace, they're big levels. It's just the fact that you go through them like that.
But there were a few like really surprising levels in there too, like the subway level where you actually have to jump down on top of it. Like I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool, even though it was super brief.
This was an interesting title for me because I really thought it was going to be like my favorite game of the year. When I started, you know, just the idea of it is like so in line with what I want games to be trying right now. About moving, not about killing people. I still really like this game a lot, mostly because the motion is like so good. Jumping around these spaces is so amazing.
Also, the time trial stuff was really fun for me.
Yeah, I didn't do any of that. How like
it's crazy because it's like what you said before, where you try things that you never really thought you could do before, because you are trying to shave just the tiniest bit of time off your overall time for that level. And the stuff that you could do, because when you go through this level in single player, you're just kind of going on a certain path. It doesn't limit you to that path. I mean, there's kind of different branches that all kind of lead to the same place, but In the time trial, you just see so much more stuff that you didn't see before because you do want to shave off that time. Like, it's really addictive. Anytime you see someone post a new time that's better than yours, you're like, ah, crap, I gotta go back in there and gotta beat it. So
Totally. I think for better or for worse, that is gonna be the meat of the game for most people, because you'll be able to finish the campaign so quickly that, like, what's gonna be fun about it is, and again, because there's no combat, just running through those spaces and trying to figure out what the best path and the fastest way through.
And the story sucked, so there's no reason to go back and play the single player.
It's a little bit unfortunate, but yeah.
Woo! Yeah! Yes!
Oh shit, I left the camera on.
Oh shit. And we got a Slurpee with it.
Oh, it's so funny that they don't know what do not sell before 11/07/08 means.
Thank you, 7-Eleven.
Told you it was Hope Day.
Thank you, 7-Eleven.
Who's next?
Delta, we have reports of heavy locust activity between you and the sinkhole. Fortunately, the Hammer of Dawn satellites are online. You'll just need a clear line of sight to the sky.
Roger, Control. Delta.
Look at our faces. Like, when people talk about this game, it's fucking like you get excited. Like you start smiling, your eyes light up because it's so much fun. The one thing that I don't like about Gears of War 2 is that it's almost too good. Like, I don't think I can go. Let me tell you. Let me explain, motherfuckers. I don't ever want to go back and play Gears of 1 anymore. It makes Gears of War 1 totally worthless. Like, I honestly, and that's sad to me. I want to be able to go back and like enjoy the first game, enjoy its worlds, enjoy its stories. I don't see myself ever doing that now. Every single aspect of the game is so much better than the first game that it makes the first game not necessary anymore.
No, I agree. It makes the first game look like a tech demo. Because I have a lot of friends that still play the original Gears of War, and I just could not go back and play it because, like you said, once you've like tasted of these waters, you cannot go back and drink tap water once again.
Gears 1, I didn't really sit down and play the game until like a year after it come out. But I didn't own a 360, so I couldn't sit down and enjoy it for myself till like when Gears 2 was announced. And I did, and I thought it was a great game, but a lot of that sort of magic or when it was new and exciting was kind of lost on me. It's like I knew what I was expecting. And with Gears 2, I knew I was going to be able to play it day one. I didn't follow hardly any media coverage because I wanted to be surprised by it. And that, I feel like, is what a lot of people might have felt like when they played Gears 1 for the first time.
The stuff that I want to talk about in this chat, every single thing that we could talk about, just about except for generic combat stuff, is a spoiler.
Yeah.
Because every stage is like this amazing set piece where something incredible happens.
This is a team that's confident in what they were doing, what they were pulling off.
Yeah.
The tech is not a problem. You can tell like the tech didn't get in the way. They basically did whatever they wanted to do. And what they do is they pulled almost a sleight of hand where the first level feels very much like a continuation of Gears 1. But after that first level, only in one section of the game do you run into anything that looks anywhere like that the rest of the way out.
Upstairs! Let's go! Moving! Coming back!
We can't really talk about the spaces that you travel to in this game, not all of them, because...
Although you can say that I had no idea that you could go into a cave so many times, and every single cave is vastly different and fucking amazing.
Yeah, how do caves look so goddamn good?
Control, you have any info on this thing? Looks like a big snake or a worm made of stone.
Recent intel lists it as a rockworm. Not sure if it's dangerous, but we do know it's an indigenous cave creature that feeds on plants.
Well, there's two specific like portions of this game that we don't want to talk about specifically.
Right.
In the best tradition of like a Bowser's Castle and a Mario Brothers, they have sections of levels that you have to make your way through that are like timing based. And the fact that they did it, and the fact that it works, and the fact that it's fun, they deserve a tremendous amount of credit for it. Because it could have not been fun. Had the timing been fucked up where you died a lot, it would have been frustrating and it would have been an interesting experiment, but it wouldn't have ultimately worked.
I also like really appreciated the character design this time. The new characters, I mean, I felt like their personalities came out in their body armor. You know, like with Dizzy, you know, it kind of looked gritty and like, I don't know, kind of, I don't want to say ghetto, but I don't know, just kind of country, you know, with his hat and everything. And
there's more of an emotional attachment to each one of the characters and their personalities and all the different things that they kind of bring to the story.
I still found myself laughing out loud sometimes at some of the bad lines.
I think that's part of it. It's supposed to be like that kind of, you know, cheesy kind of action film, but there are moments where I felt for that character and I had a kind of an attachment with them.
If I had to choose one thing that I like least about the game, it would be the story, but like everyone has said, it's so much better than the first game that it's not really an issue. And I think that even though the emotional moments don't work as well for me as some of the other ones, there are times when the kind of like badass jockness of it does pay off, and that's weird because that's like totally not something that I would think I would be into. But like, you know, there are a few times when you're like, yeah, motherfucker, that's how I would do it if I was this guy.
I'm sorry, but proper identification is required for entry. Jack. We're gonna have to blow this thing open. Bear, can you get a blast charge ready? Of course. Regular or extra strength? Extra strength.
There are a few sections of the game where there are some technical bugs that most of them seem to only appear in co-op. Some of the vehicular sequences, if you play it single player, there's no problem with them, but when you play them co-op, there are some bugs which can be frustrating.
There's a lot more extra space and detail in there that doesn't need to be there, but it really like makes it feel like you're in a real place rather than in a game level. I remember thinking like, man, I need to do this again because there's all this stuff I haven't explored yet because I'm playing co-op and I don't want to make Matt sit and like wait with me while I'm, going over and staring at this texture for a minute and a half. You know what I mean? Like there's so much detail in every area.
There's a level where it's raining outside and you're inside, and I was walking down the hallway, and I saw
by the windows.
By the window, and I stared at the animation texturing droplets on the window. The fact that they spent a lot of time on that, something that some people won't even notice, and more people, they might notice it, but they won't appreciate how difficult it was to pull off.
And I know it sounds stupid to talk about the graphics, but when the combat and the gameplay is so fucking solid, like I guess that's just it, is like everything is polished to that level.
The way they've balanced the Lancer, it's got a tighter firing pattern. You can go through the entire game not using anything but the Lancer.
Right, what's the Hammer Burst?
Hammer Burst.
I love that weapon. That's a totally different weapon. I never used that in the first game except for the first stage where you have to use it.
Yeah.
Like now I'll carry that because I want to carry it. The new weapons are fucking awesome, pretty much across the board.
Gorgon pistol.
Oh, I love the Gorgon
This is so powerful
and accurate. If you start low in the person's body and just let it ride up, every single bullet will take it down.
The minigun
Mortar
and the
is
mortar.
really good. It's a lot of fun to use, even in multiplayer.
Yeah, the great thing about the mortar, it's a skill-based weapon. When you figure out how to get your range set, and you take out a lot of guys with one shot, it's so satisfying. And I feel like if they dumbed it down and pointed out to you step 1, step 2, step 3, it wouldn't have been nearly as fun when you actually take the whole crew out. Yeah, no, absolutely.
That's one thing I appreciate about Gears is anybody can just come in and pick it up and play it.
Allowing separate difficulty levels in co-op means that you no longer have to be bored when you're playing with somebody who's a Gears newbie.
Yeah.
Or on the flip side of that, you don't have to feel completely outclassed by having to play on a harder difficulty.
Sure. Your AI teammates rarely, if ever, die in this game. And
Which was a problem in the first game.
It was a problem in the first game. But they also the fact that they pick you up when you get down.
The parts of the first game that were most frustrating were the parts where you split up. If you were down, you were out at that point. And in this game, it doesn't work that way. When you split up from your co-op partner, they'll still pick you up. So you don't have to worry about like having to automatically retry those stages a bunch of times if you fuck it up.
If you are playing the game single player and you get to the last act, for whatever reason, and it's happened multiple times in different playthroughs, Dom's character, his AI changes. He no longer really picks you up that often, and he's far less aggressive than he was the rest of the game.
You know, and I think that's where Horde mode grew out of too, is that like, man, co-op makes everything better, so let's make like a co-op experience that you can do over and over and over and over again.
This isn't the first time we've seen a mode like this. It's essentially Terrorist Hunt, but with Locust. But instead of just being a Terrorist Hunt where you choose your difficulty and your number of players you go in, you fight through waves. There's a strategy. It's all about like figuring out what's the best place on the map to kind of hold down. And of course, as we know, like Jay and I, like, we're not good at it yet, but we got to till wave 5 and like we were totally locked down, just the two of us.
We made it all the way to wave 36 on hardcore.
It's fucking insane. That doesn't even register.
And going back to like Terrorist Hunt, I think one of the reasons this does offer such a unique experience compared to that is you have so many different types of enemies and they all present different challenges.
You've got enemies that run really fast now, enemies that use a bunch of different weapons, ones that move slow and use melee attacks. Like, there's just such a
revive other enemies.
Yeah.
Totally
The enemies are not stupid. You have to work as a team. I mean, you can't have one guy on your team that's Rambo running out there taking out everybody.
Rob.
You all, yeah, exactly, Rob.
At least for me personally, I felt bad when I would die early in the wave because I knew these 4 guys were having to like carry the load for me the rest of the way out.
Right.
And if they died, I felt like I was responsible for it.
Yeah. It's just so fun to take down the different waves, to take down the different enemy types, to not know what's coming, and then to figure it out and say like, okay, well, this time we're gonna try it this way. Like, it didn't work that way last time, let's try this. Or let's move to this other spot on the map because we think it's more defensible here. Whatever, you know?
It's also nice where like you just want to hop on with friends and just chill and hang out, you know, and have fun just killing things. And so that's why I love Horde mode the best, because, you know, you can just do that kind of I guess in a casual way, you know. I really like this game so much that I became like really nitpicky about things that aren't really important but still meant a lot. Like when we were riding on the Derrick and it only had one turret, like that big freaking vehicle, it has one turret, like that kind of bothered me. But that's not something that's significant. It's just like,
no, but that's just it. I think that's a sign of how quality the rest of the game is. It's a sign that like everything else just works.
What is left to be said? Honestly, like, this game is fucking badass.
I can't think of a game with a campaign that I played through as many times in the past few years as Gears of War 1. The combat, the main gameplay felt so solid, so polished, and was so much fun. This game outshines it in every way.
I feel bad for them because they're obviously already in pre-production for Gears 3 and topping this thing because they're probably going to want to turn it around on a 2-year cycle again. I don't envy them one bit.
This is the sequel I wanted. They added on top of what they did, the new characters, the new weapons, the new environments. I'd rather them make a really good 2-player co-op than like a half-assed 4-player. I mean, yeah, 4-player would have been nice, but I mean, this is what I wanted.
Yeah.